concept that, and there's like so many different apps that are really hard to like, I've and drawn to astrology really, really difficult to
Like get to the thing.
yeah, to like get to the
Yeah.
thing, like grasp it and
Yeah.
how this applies to me. And also just like it's specifically like your app journey. And it's like it's really helped me like hone in on like life purpose and find and
Mhm.
helping me understand more about myself and sort of these like dark hidden corners of like, oh my God, I didn't even like realize that that was a thing, but that makes so much more sense because now there's words that are putting to the way that I am like been crafted in this like weird universe.
Yeah.
Um, and so you literally are like my top, like one of my like top.
I'm so glad. I really like my main thing is to make the work useful for folks. Like, I'm not interested in giving things to people or making things or creating things or spending my life like writing or speaking about things unless people can take that and like put it to use right away.
Yeah.
And I think that, we all need, I mean, the world is just a dumpster fire of heartbreak and so much devastation. And so I really believe like the more we can move into our purpose and understand what that is and focus on our healing,
Mhm.
then hopefully that can make some sort of an impact. I think that there's like this need to have, it's like both and, like we have to do our work and our work hopefully will be healing for us to just partake in.
Mhm.
And then we have to have that moment of self-reflection, or we have to have a practice of being with ourselves in a way that is not promoting or engendering or magnifying myopic self-involvement.
Mhm.
So it's always like this place of straddling, like, this is me, this is what's going on for me, and this is how I can relate to it, and then this is how I can work in the world with this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love that you are putting this song out.
Yeah, thank you. No, I mean when healing, I mean it's just been like it's been such a foundational, the song has been like such a um foundational part of, like what the last sort of like year and a half has really looked like for me. And I
Yeah.
also just think the world is collectively like in a state of healing right now. And because, off of what you were saying, like because it's such a melting pot of like heartbreak and really intense like low frequency like emotions and fear, and like there is so much right now. I think the best thing that we can do is like turn inwards and work on like the healing ourselves. And it's like that's how we heal the world in a collective way, is kind of just like really going on that inward journey and discovering it's like, okay, what is my like, how can I bring some light to this world? Like, what is my purpose here? How can I sort of best navigate like how I'm wired and what my gifts are and what my strengths are and like what I can really contribute. Um, and yeah, and like it's been really nice, like um, just getting to like hone in on that in a way that just feels so personal to me. I think it's like there's so many avenues that I think feel really overwhelming when it comes to like, oh, the healing journey, like where do you go? It's just like where do you turn first? Where do you look? There's so many like resources and outlets,
Mhm.
modalities, and it's just like what and I think the amazing thing about like astrology and what it's been for me is just like, oh, there are like I literally feel like sometimes when I'm listening to your app, I'm like, oh my God, you're just like uncovering my like deepest, darkest secrets myself. And I'm like, fuck, I feel so like I'm so like triggered, but like there's thing and I feel attacked and like somebody's just like learning, like literally exposing
Right.
my deepest secrets.
Triggered and seen is the intersection we go for.
Fully, fully,
Witnessed and activated.
100%. And also my following is like predominantly I feel like it's like a queer following.
Mm.
Um my so 5% of all your app profits are dispersed directly to Latin, Latinx, Native, Indigenous, trans, queer survivors of gender-based violence. Uh,
Mhm. Yeah. So my my wife runs two companies, well, a nonprofit, and she runs the business with me. So her nonprofit is called Free From, and Free From works at the intersection of gender-based violence and financial security, or we could say economic justice. So one of the main reasons why people don't leave abusive situations or intimate partner violence situations, relationships where intimate partner violence is prevalent is because they cannot afford to. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons why we don't leave, one of the reasons why we can't afford to leave is because a lot of the way that intimate partner violence functions is economic. And we don't talk about the fact that money is such a huge part of our healing and a part of our getting free in whatever way we need to, and a part of us being able to live out our lives. So one of the things so Free From works at that intersection that, it's like 1 in 3 women will experience intimate partner violence. 1 in 2 trans folks will experience intimate partner violence. This is an epidemic. I forget the statistic for men. I think it's 1 in, I can't remember, but Free From has all those stats. But the main point is that it's such a prevalent thing in our society, and we don't recognize it. We don't want to talk about it. So I think so many people feel like, oh, that happened in the 80s and it doesn't really happen anymore. Like, we don't speak about the ways in which so many of our partnerships, and it's not even just person to person, it can be like obviously institution to person, or how economic injustice happens in your workplace. Like, how is money withheld from you? How are we all like playing in these kind of power dynamics? So the app was coded originally by folks that are survivors of human trafficking and gender-based violence, and Sonia's organization, Free From, works there. And so we give 5% of the app's profits. That's before we pay people. It's before we pay taxes. It's like a straight up 5% to cash grants, and 100% of that money goes directly to survivors in cash grants. And what a lot of folks that have survived or are surviving that situation will tell you, and what Free From's kind of gathered in terms of data, is that sometimes it's like a couple $100s can make such a huge difference if someone's trying to get out and get to safety. And so we wanted to not only build the app with that in mind, but we also wanted to instill a community, kind of like sharing like a mutual aid part of the app. So there's that piece of it. And then we also try to build out a company and a company culture and company policies that also have healing and justice in mind. So we have a menstrual leave policy, so anybody with a uterus that needs time off, because it's a fucking pain in the ass to have one sometimes.
Do you need any employees?
We have a building wealth stipend at the company. Like, we're really into helping folks think about how to build wealth, how to keep communities prosperous, and how we can, like, I think it's really important for us to talk about money.
Yeah.
And because we live in capitalism. So at this juncture, money is tied to healing and justice. It doesn't always have to be that way, but right now we're in that system. And so we want to think about, how are we creating a work culture that is healing in and of itself? And then how do we also put pressure on other work cultures to do that? Like, what is your business doing? What is your workplace doing? How are you actually fostering a healing environment for the people that are working for you?
Yeah, and just like asking other people to, honestly, like shedding the light and asking other people. It's like, okay, how are you doing the work? How are you using your impact and your platform?
Yeah, we just we have a gender-based violence leave, so you don't have to use your vacation. We have unlimited vacation, but you also don't have to say, like, I need to take a vacation because I'm trying to leave a violent situation. There's a you know, like you get to leave work and deal with it. We also have like an emergency stipend that you can access if you need.
Mm.
And recently, you know, again, this is Free From's work. This is Sonia Passy, my wife's work through Free From, and then we've put it into the company. But recently, Facebook has instituted a gender-based violence leave, which was, you know, they didn't give credit to Free From, but it was interesting. And also Bumble has as well. So we can see like there's ripples of impact going out in the world. And as those big kind of corporations instill it, it sends a big message. So we're looking to make an impact in that way too. So the astrology is part of it. You can look at it like through the transits that my wife is going through and the stuff that I go through and just like our charts in general.
Yeah.
But then this is the work that we put out into the world. We're like trying to see, okay, well, what works, what doesn't, like what actually makes an impact.
Well, I think you have such an incredible impact, and I'm very grateful for all of the work that you are doing. And truly, I think, you know, also just like through the app, I really feel like you guys are changing lives and helping create lasting impact in a world that just needs like a hell of a lot more love and tenderness and understanding, passion, and helping people like get free and like whatever context that kind of looks like. So I'm really grateful, and I'm really grateful to connect with you. And like,
Do we want to talk about your chart?
yeah, can we talk about my chart? I have okay, yeah, I want to talk about my chart. There's been like so many times where I'm just like, oh, I wish I could just text Chan and be like, yo, what is this? Like, what does this mean? I'm like, what is?
You can text me.
I'm like, what is Chiron? I'm like, what is my Chiron in Virgo meaning? I'm like, what is? I was trying to figure out like mutable signs, but like there's like a lot to dive into.
Well, you have so much mutable.
Okay.
Like you have a lot of mutable. So mutable is a function kind of like, so there's 4 different elements. There's earth, air, water, fire. And then within those 4 elements, there's 3 modalities, so ways of being. So each water sign is one modality. It's either, sorry, yeah, each water sign is one modality, each air sign, and the 3 modalities are cardinal, fixed, and mutable. So cardinal initiates a new season. It begins things. So when you have cardinal energy, or wherever you have cardinal energies, wherever that falls in your chart, planets, etc., that's where you begin. That's where you start. Then after we start a season with cardinal, we move into fixedness. So we settle in and we're really sturdy and we're like solid and we are quite powerful. It's a quite like formidable kind of energy, like it does not move. And then we need something before we move into the next season. We have to release that fixed energy and we have to prepare for the new energy, but we're in between. And that's the mutable part of our chart. So you have 3 of the 7 traditional, well, actually, no, you have 4 of the 7 traditional planets in mutable signs. So that's more than half of the traditional planets. And if we put in the modern planets, that's 4 out of 10. So it's a really high percentage. So your whole job is to be in between. It's to be mutable, to be flexible, to be in a place of neither here nor there. And so it's a place of constant becoming, but never quite arriving at a solid fixed solution. It's like a lot of your chart is more interested in being in the looser kind of places and spaces. So they're very liminal in nature. So you have Pisces sun and Gemini moon, both are, so the luminaries become really important in the chart. If we think about the sky, they're the light in the sky, right? So the light in the sky is really important. And so, because we live by it and we like, the moon is our great timer and the sun is our literal energy and light. So in the chart, those 2 bodies take precedence above almost everything else. So when you have both luminaries in mutable signs, then that becomes such a huge part of the life, is to be open, to be flexible, to be open so that you can be inspired and you can move in any which way you want at any time. It's really hard. It's like you know, Pisces are the fish. So if you've ever tried to like gather fish, we can think of like Gemini as like a herd of butterflies. And if you've ever tried to gather butterflies, it's like you are everywhere, kind of nowhere, and all of it. And it's beautiful and sparkly, but it's sometimes hard to grasp or get a hold of. And so people with a lot of mutable energy, like you have, can also feel like it can be a little hard to gather oneself or to like move oneself in a certain direction because there's so many options and there's so much available. And there's a curiousness, of course, to a Gemini moon, and you're born at night. So your moon really is like your big light, even more than your sun. Not that you're not a Pisces sun and that's not important. It's just that the moon is your light leader. And you've got the moon in the ninth house of religion, philosophy, spirituality, traveling, and going really broad out into the world. Also, it's like law and policy and being interested in like the morality of what culture, what is holding us all together. And it's a Gemini moon, so it's just so curious. Like you just need to explore. And the ninth house is about dreaming and healing through a spiritual kind of lens. So your need to seek out all the different trails and roads and pathways is just so big. And it's really what leads you in a lot of ways. So you're always going to be curious about spiritual things. And it's also the house of astrology. And because it's Mercury ruled, it's a Gemini moon, it's like there's a certain kind of talent for it because you love the language of things. So the ways of speaking about a philosophical construct or wisdom traditions would really like draw you in. And your sun is in the sixth house of like healing crises. So the sixth house is a place of work. So we see like work is super important to you, and like shining through your work is like, you have to do that. But there's a way in which, because it's in Pisces and because your moon's in the ninth house, it's also looking at how you experience what is like pain and maybe even like chronic conditions, and then seeking a spiritual or a kind of more like philosophically holistic healing modality through that. So that's like one piece. How does that sound when I say all that?
like truly I feel so exposed. Like that is it, so spot on, like so deeply spot on to my like innermost workings and thoughts and the way that I like always functioned and existed. Just like this wildly innate curiosity and desire to just like be everywhere and see,
Yes.
feel everything, experience everything because there's
Yes.
to offer. Um, yeah, and I just every time there's and I feel so like wildly like drawn to the moon as well, so that like makes a lot of sense. um
And
there
you're born at the last quarter, you're born right before the last quarter phase of the moon. So a lot of your life, like, and also because the moon's a light leader, it's like wanting to like, what doesn't work? Like, let me get rid of that. Let's deconstruct what isn't working. Like, this is about kind of tearing stuff down that isn't helpful, doesn't give us anything. It can be really critical of things. And so you have to kind of watch that desire to tear things down that aren't working, because you still have to remember like the regenerative building things.
yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I wanted to talk about, so what I thought was, it's incredible to see you have a Libra rising.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives you a desire to be in connection and to be gracious and to be likable and to have affinity. Like you want to be known for all of that. And also your ruling planet is Venus. Now Venus is the goddess of love and relationship and art and beauty and things that are pleasing. So we know that your life is steered, because the planet that rules your ascendant, your life is steered by a planet that's like, let's have fun, let's make art, let's be beautiful, let's create beauty, and let's create things that people will be attracted to. So it's all about magnetizing to you what you need.
Mm-hmm.
So wherever Venus is and what Venus is doing is super important to your life's purpose and your life's direction. So when you were born, Venus was literally like at the moment of your birth, but even if it wasn't at your moment of birth, it would still be important. But for you, it's like extra, extra. At the moment of your birth, the sun had just set, and Venus was this brilliant, beautiful evening star. And that's like a really special moment to be born at, when a planet is really visible like that, and it's yours is exactly 15 degrees away from the sun, which is like the hot spot. And so what it says is there is a special quality to this planet for you. Not only does it rule your ascendant, it tells you where to go and what to do, but everything about Venus will be extra bright and extra present in your life. And so that means pleasure, art, relationships, and creating beauty wherever you go. So would you say that your life is infiltrated with all of that?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm constantly chasing, just like everything needs to be like also an aesthetic. I'm like,
Oh,
I
like,
have dinner at night. I'm like, are the candles lit? Is the incense burning? I'm like, do I have something pretty to look at on like the TV? I put on like a beach, like on like
yeah,
you or something like that.
yeah. So the other thing is that as an evening star, Venus was about to go in, it was about to go into the underworld. And so the connotation of this is that, okay, everything Venusian will be like just 1,000, turned up 1,000 watts for this person. But, and also the Venus going into the underworld says something about having like the courage of a warrior in a sense, because Venus is about to go into her descent. And if we go into the underworld, we need to have a lot of courage to do so. So yes, it's Venusian, and yes, it's about having things that are pleasing and beautiful and attractive, but there is a sentiment here that is like, I'm about to go do something really deep and intense and difficult. I am going to go in and face my demons in a sense. And you have Venus in Aries, which is super independent, needs to be really courageous, and needs to try things that nobody else has ever done. So this is your cardinal energy, right? Your rising sign is cardinal, and the ruler of your ascendant is in a cardinal sign. And so this is like, okay, what would be the scariest thing to do? Let's go into that underworld. Like you're just constantly like jumping off and needing to find things that are going to test your strength, show you what you're made of, help you to understand your artistic talent. Now, Venus is in the 7th house of relationships, so I think artistic collaborations and relationships must be like super important for you. Also, relationships in general, and that's a whole other thing, but that's a big piece of your life's purpose. And when you have a planet in the opposite sign, when you have the ruler of your ascendant in the 7th house, there's also like relationships are so important, and I don't ever want to lose myself in them, and I want to be really independent and like own my own everything and like be free. But I want to be in a relationship, but I need to be super independent. But I want to be partnered, but I need to like be able to go off and do whatever I need to go off and do. So that is always going to be the push and pull. But when you find people to commit to, they will help you develop your life purpose. That could be business, that could be platonic, that could be romantic, could be all of them. But you need that partnership thing, but you need to know you are absolutely free in the commitment. Like there's a place where you like, yes, we show up in this way, and then I have all of this autonomy. Now you've got Venus, one last thing I'll say, and then we can have more conversation, but you have Venus right next to Vesta. She's a goddess asteroid that is about the hearth and the home and focusing on something. And so there is a great amount of courage and focus and creative fire here that you have to tend to. And I would think that your relationships have to tend to as well. Vesta is a place of belonging to oneself. The Vestal virgins were the priestesses that honored Vesta, and they didn't get married. So it's funny because you have the goddess who isn't about partnership in the house of partnership, with the planet of partnership in a sign that's super independent. So you have this thing where it's like you need deep devotion and focusing on the sacredness of partnership while being totally autonomous and completely free, or feeling that way. You need to like keep that ownership over your own life.
Yeah.
Okay. How does all that sound?
it's been like so wildly like so wildly spot on. I mean, it honestly, I guess, you know, with a combination of Vesta and the mutable signs and all of that, there is like this sort of like constant push and pull energy that's always existing. And I feel like I like often exist in an inner state of like conflict within myself, because also existing in a world where everything is so like structured and feels like it needs to be so black and white, and we want to put things in boxes to understand them and categorize. And it's for someone like existing in a world like that, for with someone who has as much sort of just like conflicting sort of ideas and dreams and aspirations, and it's like one day I want to be like so seen, and like I'm feeling like, okay, I'm really down to be like the center of attention today and do this and be really bold. And there's other times where I'm like, I want to quit and drive away and move
Yeah.
into the middle of like a farm somewhere and fucking
Yeah.
like have chickens, like I don't know.
Yeah.
And so it's my my very existence within myself feels extremely conflicting, and I'm constantly like changing my mind. And so it's yeah, it's quite a predictable, like I navigate on a daily basis. But having these like things to put to it, and and even just hearing you explain this is just like bringing me such an immense amount of peace.
Hmm.
And um
I have a friend who has this Libra rising and Venus in Aries in the seventh house, like you do. And she like, again, she wants to like, she falls in love with everybody and she kind of wants to partner with everybody. And she also is a Pisces sun, so she has that sun in the sixth house. So her work is so important to her. And there was a point at which she met somebody who was such a great collaborator and also such a great like romantic match. And she had such a hard time committing, but once she did, it was like her whole life fell into place in a sense. It was like finding someone that, finding the partnerships that, and you know, this is, it goes against the like having autonomy and agency and all of that, but finding the partnerships, oh my God, there's a fire. Finding the partnerships that feed you in that way and that help to contain and direct some of that, I think will be really life changing for you. Or the ways, have you experienced those kinds of partnerships in your life, or do you
yeah,
have like writing partners that you work with that you feel really close to, or creative partnerships in that way?
yeah, no, I definitely have experienced those types of relationships. I think just my um I think it's they've just have been complicated to navigate with, you
Yeah.
know, somebody who's just been like, oh, I need to like feel freedom, but like I want to feel like committed, loved. And
You'll find that partnership. You know, you're young, it's, there's a lot of time and all the stuff, but you will find it. I think it will be, there's also something really interesting happening where Jupiter has moved, it spent a little bit of time in your sixth house, which again, sixth house is about like pain and illness and a lot of hardship in traditional astrology. It's also about work and like the things that we have to work with. But Jupiter went into your sixth house, and Jupiter is a planet of bounty and creative possibility and also of healing. And it went into your sixth house as this song was being released. So I thought that was really interesting. It was on your Mercury basically
oh,
as you were like putting this out. And so it's like speaking the big healing message. But you know, through 20 to the end of 2021, all of 2022 and into 2023, Jupiter, the planet of fortune and bounty and growth, is going to roll over all of your planets in Pisces and then get to the ruler of your ascendant. So it's going to be a big year of growth for you, and
oh,
a big year of like opening up to the possibilities that happen through your work and through the partnerships that feel like life changing for you. And I
mhm.
just want to say, like, your handle is finding Fletcher, and your moon is like forever in the like place of roaming and traveling and moving in a sign that's like catch me if you can kind of vibe of Gemini, right? Like there's no finding you. It's like, you're like, haha.
Forever find Fletcher. What a
It's
mess.
like a very, very aptly
Yeah, wow.
named Instagram.
That is,
But you know, that place of feeling like in between everything, or feeling like not knowing which thing to do. I think the advice I could give you if you want it is like, just accept that about yourself.
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. That's part of the energy of your makeup, is to be in these liminal spaces and to want everything, and to also feel like you're going in too many directions at once.
Hmm.
And so again, the partnerships, the creative partnerships will probably start to like help you hone in on that energy. But your talent is to be open and to receive the creative inspiration from all the different sources. So part of your job is just being like, this is a part of my process. Either feeling confused, or feeling like I'm overstretched, or I've absorbed too much knowledge, probably like feel intellectually overwhelmed a lot. And it's just to be like, okay, that this is part of the process. And then I have to probably go roam around and like move about, and like maybe even travel, or like do something to help me figure out what to do with all of this.
Mhm.
But that state of like overwhelm or too much is a very mutable state to
Mhm.
be
Well,
in.
I'm locked so much that I literally am like, save this live, go back and like take notes on it, because I need to understand everything that was just said and just happened. Um,
Yeah.
what is your big three? Just out of, I feel like I
You know, I don't talk about it.
don't. Okay, cool. It's a secret. Nobody
I
knows.
mean, I will talk about it with you offline, but it's not even a secret. I don't know. I have a thing. Probably one day I'll say it, but also nobody cares.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's been so amazing. I truly have been like, I've thought about this day for so long, really excited and really nervous. And like, I also was really nervous to do it in a public way, because it feels just so personal. But I also just, I don't know. I think I am just like someone, I'm really trying to, I
Yeah.
struggle a lot with having a public facing platform as somebody who
Yeah.
I feel like I need to like privately understand my feelings first.
Yeah. Such a Pisces.
Yeah.
You're so sensitive.
I'm so sensitive.
You're so porous.
So
But that your Venus just makes you take these huge risks, I think. Is that true? You feel like there's this part of you that just like leaps, and you're like, what is going on? I'm
yeah,
not sure.
yes.
And you
And then I'm like wildly sensitive, and I like feel everything to the point where I'll go into like a doctor's office, and I will feel what every person's feeling in their body. Like I'm like suddenly my stomach hurt, like I feel the whole room. And it's overwhelming, especially because, and then I'm like, I like more prepared for things and like have an element of control. So I'm like, okay, I need to know what I'm going into. But then sometimes I feel like I'm finding myself in these situations where I'm like, how the hell did I get here? Or like, I like played like Jingle Ball at Madison Square Garden,
yeah.
and I was like on the stage, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? I'm like, how did I get here? What is going on? And
You're
it's
like, just be like, it's that butterfly thing. Like you just kind of end up in a place, and you like fly through, and like the more like you can focus on that principle of being unattached, and like let the creative stuff kind of help you to roam. Because when you let yourself out and roam and do the things, you'll end up in those places.
yeah.
Because your chart is like that. You're just like, what? How did I get here? Like it didn't even make sense. It's not logical, but it's
I've ended up in the strangest places. I'll be like,
yeah,
this feels off brand, but like not at all at the same time. Like this is right.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Um,
listen, we can do like a deeper, more personal reading offline as well.
okay. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, I need everyone to get the Annie app. Truly, you guys. It's like I don't do this. I don't like hype things up. I barely recommend stuff. I only do if it's like coming from my heart, and I think it's actually been something that has like truly changed my life and
Mm,
has been such an incredible and probably like one of my most important tools in my like healing toolkit, like in my box. And I'm really so grateful for the way that you've like formatted it, way that it looks. It's also like aesthetically beautiful. I like
Thank you.
time, yeah, the tarot cards, like the designs, I'm like, oh fuck, this makes my Venus, like my Vesta, whatever, like
Yes, both.
in love. I'm just like, ugh, this is perfect. Um, so I honestly, I think it's just diving into astrology and like understanding yourself on a whole other level is such a key part. So, um,
Yeah. And it's like not, there's a way in which like I always am trying to get people to the point of like, it's not about the chart telling you who you are. It's about seeing how what the sky was doing when you were born and how your calling and like how your experiences oddly match that, you know? And so I do feel like there's a quality of fate to our lives and in as much as like we're born into a certain set of conditions, both like physically, socially, culturally, etc., but also astrologically. But it's still yours to do something with, you know, like it's still for you to figure out, like, what can this thing do? Like, okay, I've got this Venus Vesta thing. You were born with a Phasis Venus, which is this special condition. So what are all the things that my Venus wants to try and wants to like be courageous in and also like the archetype of being a courageous femme or a courageous woman or someone who can take risks in that way but also be deeply dedicated and focused on the things that are important to you and that you're devoted to is so important. So what does that look like for you specifically? And you get to build that relationship with your chart. So it's I always think like it is this deep relationship. Astrology has been such a good friend to me, like one of the best friends to me, because it's always in conversation with me. It's never too late. It's always up. It'll always text me back.
always,
It'll never abandon me. Like there's always something new to talk about or to like learn from it. And so I think if it's a language that speaks to you, it's something that you can literally your chart will teach you your entire life.
mm,
And that's such I don't know, for seekers, for someone like you,
mhm.
moon in the ninth house, like you need that. Like, what is an endless source of knowledge and self-exploration and
Quite literally me.
yeah.
I feel so vulnerable doing this like in front of people, but I also, it's like, okay, I feel like I'm like, okay, I feel like people maybe understand me more now. You helped me like understand a lot about myself. And so I think that thank you. This was like a gift, truly. Like
Yeah. Thanks
uh,
for having me. It was so good to meet you.
so good. People are asking a lot, do you do personal readings? Is that something that you do ever
I
or
mean, I do. I'm super booked. So I encourage people to reach out to your networks, like go on Twitter, on whatever your thing is, and be like, who do y'all go to for astrology readings? And then like the people that you trust or you vibe with, go seek out their astrologers, read their stuff, see what feels like resonant for you, and find somebody to work with because it's really good to work with someone. I think like I don't think I get astrology readings like once every 6 months or once every year. And I like having someone hold that space for me, even though I know exactly what they're talking about. It's really nice to get somebody else's opinion on it. And also, they're really just sessions where healing can happen. So find somebody that you can work with long term, maybe, and like invest in that relationship. Because it can be a really beautiful one to find someone who will work with you for years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being down
Yeah.
and coming on today. It's been like the best part of like my month and like want to highlight like a life highlight. So
Oh my goodness.
for this,
Well, we'll talk more.
okay, cute.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Channing.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
You guys. Um, okay, what a good way to start my day. I'm so like flustered and excited. And thank you guys for coming on and creating a safe space for me and sharing that with me. I feel like I was like getting embarrassed. I was like, oh no, not everyone knowing my secrets. But yeah, this was really cool and really fun. And I love you guys. And definitely check out the app. I think it's amazing. I think astrology is incredible and has been like such a way to help me just like better understand myself a little bit and like my inner workings. And something that I just like very much recommend. So I love you guys. I am gonna go do a little meditation and get something to eat. And I miss you all so much. I promise I've been working on a lot of stuff that I'm really, really excited to share. Um, but yes, I'm gonna save the live. Everybody keeps saying save the live. I'm gonna definitely save the live, and I love you guys. I'm gonna go take notes on it, and I will talk to you guys soon. Have a beautiful day. Take care of yourself. Drink some water. Get something good to eat. Take a nap if you need to. Take a bath. Like, just take care of you. Um, I love you, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Okay. Hi.